Hi, I'm Movie Man. I'm an octopus who reviews movies, and today's review is going to be on.
Swedish.
Now, I've heard about this movie alright. I've seen like little posters and the trailers and stuff. What little things for the movie that had actually, been put out and stuff. I thought this looks like an interesting movie. Definitely did, look like a real kind of a strange one, but I'm always for like, a bit of strangeness every now and again, so looks like an interesting watch. And I saw that it was getting a release in Ireland December 6th. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna give it a watch. So the movie released in Ireland there last week as of me recording this review, and I went to see it for myself on December 7th in Omniplex Man Point. Well, I know the response for this one has been kind of mixed. I know like there's been some reviews for it that have been like generally positive. I know Rotten Tomatoes has actually given it a pretty good score. Although to be fair, I don't think this one has been getting like a lot of like good reviews, because I know that there's been a lot of people that have given this one kind of negative reviews, saying it's not very good. Even a small amount of people I've seen saying that they just outright thought the movie was terrible and stuff. But anyway, I watched it for myself, and yeah, after seeing the movie for myself, I can definitely see, why the reviews for this one have generally been quite polarizing, because yeah, I'll definitely say this movie is not going to be for everyone. Like, yeah, this is definitely one that, is going to be polarizing. But in terms of my own, like, personal thoughts on the movie, I wouldn't say that, I outright loves the movie or that I thought it was absolutely amazing or anything like that, but I definitely wouldn't call it a terrible movie either. In my opinion, I thought this movie was okay. Like, it's not great, it's not terrible either. It's okay. I had an enjoyable time with it. But anyway, getting further into my thoughts on rumours, the cinematography in the movie is pretty good overall. Yeah, I actually do quite like the way that they filmed this movie. Like, it's kind of filmed like, like it has kind of this sort of, how do I say it, kind of a classic kind of VHS B movie look to it, at least. That's how I kind of think it looks a bit in parts, and honestly, I think it's actually nice. It definitely does fit with, the very kind of weird approach that, they're going for with the movie. I actually do think it's nice to look at, and I will say there's very good lighting in this part. Like during a lot of this movie, you know, our characters are just wandering through this dark forest at night, and you know, we have like a lot of the color blue is kind of, you know, illuminating this whole forest. And yeah, I will say it's actually really nice to look at. Like honestly, I actually do think there's generally some very good lighting in this, and yeah, there's kind of some, you know, interesting things that they kind of do with the cinematography at times. You know, it's overall very kind of neat looking, like, you know, kind of an indie film. Yeah, but honestly, I do like the way this movie is shot, so I'll say the cinematography is pretty good. Now in terms of the movie's editing, the editing in the film, a bit of a mixed bag. Like, don't get me wrong, not to say that the editing in this is like really bad or anything, because it's not terrible by any means. Like there is some kind of decent, like, you know, editing here in parts, and like, you know, there's kind of some interesting things that they kind of do with editing, particularly kind of towards the end of the movie. Like there's a scene kind of at like the very end of the film where they actually do some kind of very interesting things, you know, with the editing and such. But like, in terms of where my problems kind of lay with the editing in this movie, like, I feel like at times it can just be a bit tedious. Like, there's points where, like, you know, particularly like in like the first half of the movie, like, you know, we're having like all these characters, you know, having conversations and such, and like the movie is constantly, you know, cutting from like character to character and stuff. And you know, I guess why the movie does it and stuff, you know, I mean, I guess, like, you know, it's decent for the scene, but I feel like it can just kind of get a bit tedious, honestly. And I don't think I'll be alone on this. I'm pretty sure like some other people will be with me on this. Like, now don't get me wrong, I guess, you know, why the editing is like that, but like, I think like it's just a bit tedious. I feel like they just could have done it a bit better, I felt. But like, other than that, the editing overall is not great, but I wouldn't call it terrible either. It's kind of a mixed bag, honestly. Now, in terms of the film's pace, now, this movie isn't really all too long. Like, I'm pretty sure this movie is around like an hour and 44 minutes, I think, which, you know, isn't really too long of a movie. And you know, overall, I think the movie does well enough with that runtime. Now, I will say, there's quite a few scenes that are kind of a bit of slow pace, like because during a lot of this movie, like, you know, we're having conversations, you know, with a bunch of these characters and stuff, and yeah, you know, the pace kind of does, you know, take it a bit slow and stuff, and then we actually kind of, you know, get to when like they're all abandoned and kind of some of the madness starts happening and stuff. But like, yeah, you know, it does an okay job kind of with like its pace, you know, kind of I understand that, you know, it kind of wants to take it a bit slow, so that, you know, it can kind of like just show off all these scenes, show off the conversations between some of these characters. I guess why the movie does that and stuff. Although, I mean, it's not like I don't think it's great pacing, but it's not exactly all like that bad either. But as I said, this movie won't really be for everyone because to be fair, I do think maybe they could have done a better job, kind of with the pace and kind of maybe making some scenes that not really feel as dragged out or maybe kind of using that time to develop one or two of the characters a bit more. But overall, I think the pace in this movie is okay. Now in terms of the sounds and music, overall there's some pretty decent sound effects because we hear all these kind of weird noises and stuff. And overall I think it's kind of decent enough, and it kind of fits well enough for what's kind of happening in the scene and everything. Overall, I think the sound effects in that regard are decent enough, and the movie actually has a solid score. I will say I do kind of like some of the music tracks in this film, that play during a few of these scenes. There's actually some decent tracks in there, and they kind of really fit with the film well enough, I feel. But yeah, so I think overall the sounds and music in the film is decent enough. I think some of the production design is pretty good in this as well. I like the looks of this area, all this forest out there. I like how it's illuminated, and it's actually a pretty good looking forest and stuff, and even kind of some of the things they encounter, this massive brain, for example, actually look genuinely pretty good. I think overall kind of some of the production work on the film I think is actually pretty decent for what budgets they were able to utilize here. Now in terms of the characters and the acting, so the movie kind of pretty much focuses on the G7, the group of seven, who are these 7 world leaders have met up at this summit in Germany to kind of talk about the global issue and stuff, and then next thing they're just kind of abandoned, and they kind of have to work out things themselves. Now honestly, these characters are not exactly really proper characters and such. Honestly, I think they kind of feel a bit more caricatures per se. Clearly you can tell that a lot of these characters are meant to be kind of inspired by actual world leaders and stuff, and you can kind of tell who's who with what countries they're the leaders of and stuff, and I mean, as I said, they're just kind of meant to be caricatures, but I find kind of some of them to be entertaining enough, but I know I just feel the movie kind of could have done a bit more with them rather than kind of just having them be caricatures, because I feel one or two of them just didn't get proper development and stuff. Really, I don't think most of them do. Like, the only one that kind of does get like some development is the Prime Minister of Canada, Maxime, who is played by Dupuis. And for what it's worth, he actually is, you know, an entertaining performance in this. I will say the cast actually do well in this movie, like playing these kind of caricatures. Like, of course, there's also Cate Blanchett in this as the German Chancellor. I think she does well in that role. However, out of all of them, I have to say my favourite character in the movie by far is definitely Charles Dance as the American President Edison. Like, yeah, like we have Charles Dance, you have British Charles Dance, you know, playing the American president, and you know, there's times throughout the movie where, like, you know, you can clearly hear that British accent, you know, sleeping in and stuff, but oh yeah, he is, like, honestly really entertaining in this movie. Like, I mean, there's times where, like, you know, his character is seemingly just kind of dozing off and stuff, because, you know, he's kind of old and everything. Clearly you can tell, you know, that he's meant to be, like, inspired by Joe Biden, and, like, yeah, he's honestly very funny in this. His character actually got a lot of laughs out of me. Like, there's one scene in particular in this movie that involves his character, and I won't say what it is, but I will say that scene is without a doubt my favourite scene in the whole movie. Like, oh my god, that scene, like, by far was definitely where the comedy in the movie peaks for me. Like, oh boy, I actually found that scene so funny. But yeah, I definitely liked him the best out of everyone here. But as I said, I think some of the other actors do well enough for their roles, but I know, I just feel like a lot of them just could have been maybe more developed, so that way we kind of cared more about what was happening, and maybe the satire of it all would have worked a bit more. Also, we have, like, a brief role in this from Alicia Vikander, kind of just speaking Swedish. I don't know that part from the trailer where they all think that she's, like, talking gibberish or something, but Cate Blanchett is German Chancellor. It's like, no, it's just Swedish. She's speaking Swedish. Yeah. She is pretty funny, you know, for that role that she has, but it's just, she's a very good actress. Like, if you've seen Ex Machina, you know how good of an actress she is. Like, I just feel like, you know, maybe the movie could have utilized her a bit more. But yeah, also overall, I think, like, well, I think these, like, more or less caricatures just maybe could have had a bit more to them. Kind of everyone's having, like, a bit of fun doing this movie. So overall, the acting is pretty good in this, especially from Charles Dance. Now, in terms of the movie's plot, now, you know, the plot with this one is, you know, we have these world's leaders, they meet up in a summit trying to talk about, like, you know, this kind of world crisis, but they get abandoned, and then just some very weird stuff starts happening. Clearly you can kind of tell, like, this movie is kind of meant to be a bit of a satire. Like one thing I noticed is that the movie never actually really tells us, like what this crisis actually is, like why they're all meeting up and stuff. But like basically, what this whole kind of point is, like throughout the movie, they're getting into like all these like situations and stuff, like where they have some like kind of really weird encounters, and they pretty much just act kind of clueless and like how to actually kind of sort them out. And I think it's kind of meant to be a bit of a satire on how like actual world's leaders are generally just kind of lost in like how they're meant to handle a situation, which I think that definitely does make for an interesting idea. And for what it's worth, I think the movie actually does have a good bit of fun with it, in terms of its style, just kind of really going all out and like the pure kind of weirdness of it and stuff. But I just kind of feel like in terms of like what I don't think it entirely works is that like I feel like some stuff is kind of just left a bit too ambiguous, like in terms of like what's actually going on and kind of why all this stuff is happening. And I get why like that I understand that maybe the filmmakers kind of want to go for like a bit of like an ambiguity to it where it's kind of left up to interpretation. I can understand all that, but like I feel like the movie kind of just keeps things a bit too ambiguous to where like the satire of it all doesn't like have the most like kind of satisfying payoff to it all. And well, with that being said, it's a memorable enough movie. It's an entertaining one. Like as I said, I was laughing throughout the movie, especially at Charles Dance's character, and like I think it's an alright one if you just want kind of a bit of a really kind of weird movie and such. But like if you come to this movie kind of looking for like really a very kind of well written satire, you're not really gonna get that. But overall, while I don't think the plot of this one really lives up to its full potential, I do think it does well in terms of kind of some of the comedy and just the weirdness of it. So it's generally okay. In terms of the film's narrative structure now, like the plot with this one is the world's leaders, they meet up in a summit, and there's like this like crisis that happens, a bunch of weird stuff is happening, and they're trying to get through it all, but they act kind of clueless about it and stuff, and that kind of is, really the main plot that the movie is going through. But throughout the film, like, there's times where, we're kind of like, getting a lot of like exposition, like, and monologues with a lot of these characters and stuff, and like, as I said, they can be entertaining and the cast does well with it, but like, I know, I just feel like they really could have been more than just like kind of caricatures and stuff. I feel like there's could have been like a bit more development with them. Like as I said, really it's only the Canadian Prime Minister that goes through any kind of development. Like other than that, like a lot of these so-called characters do feel a bit underdeveloped and stuff, to where like I don't think it all comes off entirely satisfying. the movie's just a bit too ambiguous with it all. Well, as I said, when the movie kind of, fails in that regard, I think what it kind of does right is, with its kind of comedy and its pure weirdness, I think really that kind of is what carries this whole narrative and stuff. So yeah, the narrative structure overall, nothing really to, write home about. It just could have been better, had these caricatures been a bit more developed and stuff, and had we been a bit more clear about things. But overall, Rumours is an okay movie. It's a film that I enjoyed in spite of my flaws with it. There's good cinematography, there's some good kind of sound and music, and there's some good acting in there, there's good humour, and I just like the weirdness of it, and it definitely has some interesting ideas going for it, but I don't think this movie's great either, because, as I said, I don't think the satire entirely works, because I feel like these caricatures aren't developed enough, and the movie's just a bit too ambiguous with it all. It's still an entertaining movie at the end of the day, but I can definitely see why this one has been polarizing. This movie definitely won't be for everyone, that is for sure. This probably wouldn't be one that's like most general audiences would be like, wanting to check out and stuff, or like even if you want like a really like well written satire, I don't think you're gonna get that. But if you just want kind of, just a bit of like a weird film with a bit of humour in there, I think you could, get something out of this. But overall, this movie could have been better for sure, but in spite of my flaws, I still enjoyed it enough for what it was. So with that, I'm going to give Rumours a 6 out of 10. So with that, I'll see you guys next time, and bye.